Welcome to your Arts and Agriculture Basketry box. We're very excited for you to receive this box and I hope you enjoy it. Right now we're going to unbox the box and you can see what's inside. First off, you'll see that we have the Arts and Agriculture sticker on the top. And when you open it up, for this basketry box, you're going to see multiple things inside. But first I want to talk about what's not here. On the one you're going to receive, there will be a sticker here with a QR code to a video, to this video, and to a collector, hopefully, that will give me your information about what you liked, what you think needs to be changed, and it will give you a chance to give me some pictures of you and your friends or your family or your loved ones enjoying this box. Inside this box, as I said, it's the basketry box. So you're going to have yarn. In your box, you'll probably have two different variegated ones. Variegated simply means lots of colors on the skein and it goes from color to color, and a solid one. I wanted to make sure that I gave you kind of a good choice of things that you wanted and that you would have something you would like. And then you should have a solid one. You'll also find a package of needles. There are 4 needles inside here. Again, you're getting enough materials that I thought multiple people might want to do this project. And this way, as you start, everyone can have a different colored needle so you can tell whose project is whose. As you go on, you'll see that each project becomes as unique as the individual working on it. So you won't need the needle coding as much, but I did want to make sure that you could have it so that you would know which one was yours, especially in the beginning. Or if you're like me, I kind of lose things, so I gave you multiples in case you lost one. This cording may look familiar to you. You will receive an unopened cording, but you're going to get what is essentially a clothesline. And so the clothesline becomes the center of the fiber coiled basketry that we're going to be doing. So there will be enough for multiple projects or multiple people to do this project at the same time. Inside your box will be a link to the instructions, or you may have received written instructions from your agricultural extension agency. I chose basketry because basketry is a fine craft, and it was often used to be useful in homes, to decorate them, and you could use it upcycling materials. So basketry can be made out of pine needles. Was made out of things that were so accessible. Rag baskets. We traditionally think of it being made out of reed, which could have been grapevine wreath, it could have been reed, it could have been any of those type of things. But it's also can be made out of wire, and we're going to use fiber coil, like I said. So one of the things that I want to talk about first is fiber coil. So I have selected this fiber coil. As I've said, yours is going to come, it's going to be nice, it'll be wrapped up, and you're going to have a large amount of it. I've made multiple baskets and I still have this much left over. So you can make multiple projects, your family can make multiple projects, you can have friends over and you can do this together, because I always joke that arting, which is, when I make art, is better with friends, and I want the friends to be there. So this is the fiber coil basketry. So when we get started with this, you're going to pull from the center, and I'm going to go ahead and show you, since it's right here, I'm going to show you what I do. You want to take this end that's covered with plastic to make it easier for you. If you want to do this again, you just put a piece of tape around it. It's super easy. That's one of the things I liked about this, and when I taught my students how to do this, they really loved that it was super accessible. So if you run out of supplies, I tried to make sure everything was easy for you to resource. I ordered this off Amazon, but you could just go to the dollar store and get some clothesline. All right, it comes in different thicknesses. I chose this one, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The next thing I have for you is I want to look at your yarn. So when you pull out your yarn, you'll often see, take this off of here, you'll often see that there's a little thing coming out of the center. This is called a skein. When you have yarn in a skein, it means that you can pull it out of the center super easily, like this. Sometimes it'll come out with a little knot, Oh, there it is. Let's see here. Oh, this is the exterior one. I don't want to use that one. What I want to do is I want to go inside and just kind of open it up and pull yarn from the center. Because if I pull it from the outside, it's going to go skittering all around, and I don't want that. Oh. So one of the things when I teach my students is I talk about even teachers make mistakes. So I pulled this out into a big chunk. I'm just going to keep unraveling it until I get down to this part right here. That's what I really wanted. And so I'll have this. If I use the outside one, this rolls around. If you have animals, the animals think you're playing with them. So you really want to pull from the center, even if it does make a mess like this. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull this off. And I'm going to come here and see how it just kind of unfolds. And when I do this, I'm going to pull out a couple of yards. And people always ask me, how long is a couple of yards? It's basically from the center of your chest to the end of your fingers if you pull it out. So I usually just take and pull out a couple of times, arm lengths, chest to arm length, and I'll cut it. And then I'm going to set this off to the side so I don't have to worry about it. As I said before, what I do is I take and I cut the ends at an angle. So this is one I cut off very short, and I'm going to recut that end at an angle. And I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, so you're first going to take this, and you want to start in the opposite direction. So it sounds kind of funny, but you want to run the cord along, or your yarn along the length of your cord. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to wrap it a couple times around there to secure it. See how now it's nice and steady? So I'm going to go all the way to the end, and then I'm going to wrap, and I'm going to do it side by side by side, nice and smooth, and just kind of do this. And in the beginning, this is the hard part, kind of making this happen. So I usually go about 1 inch. I'm covering up that tail of yarn so it's nice and secure. And I'm going to feel this and say, if I double it up and I kind of smush it, and that's why you want it cut at an angle, so it'll blend into this other piece of yarn over here, other piece of cord. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to start wrapping them together. And I've basically made what looks like the top of a fiddlehead fern. That's what I always kind of liken it to. And I hold it here and I just kind of pinch down and I wrap. And it's very, very, for me, very relaxing. I can do this while I'm talking to a friend. I'm on the phone, I'm watching TV, whatever. So it's something that kind of gives me a little sense of peace while I'm doing other things. All right, so you can see here that I've got this little center loop and I've gone down about 1 inch, and these are equally wrapped. Now, I included these needles. The one I was using was smaller when I was doing mine, but I made these bigger because I didn't know. I wanted them to be really easy for people to use. And I didn't know who was going to be doing this. Typically, to thread my needle, I spin the end of my yarn, and then I kind of pinch it, and then I poke it through. Now, with these needles being so large that you shouldn't have any problem with threading your needle. And what I do is I always kind of pull it down a little bit so I'm not pulling so far. And so you can see it's almost to the length, or almost to the end where I'm working with my basket. So I've got this, and it's like this. I always have students that think, oh, I'm going to tie it in a knot here. Don't do that. It makes it painful for you to get it out undone, but also when you're doing the next part, that knot can kind of tie you up. So we want to take this, and depending on whether you're right or left-handed, it doesn't really matter how you're going to wrap this, but I'm going to go this way. All right, so I'm taking this and I'm kind of putting it there. Now when you look at this, here's my cord. See how my cord is coming here? You're going to make an X. So to make an X, you cross over in between the layers, the last 2 layers. That becomes very important later. So I'm going to take my big needle and I'm going to push it through here. And when I do this, you'll see it kind of pulling through, and you'll see it's the first part of the X. See that? It's crossed between the two pieces. And it kind of came undone when I did that. But I'm going to fix it. Now to complete my X, I have to go this way. And see how it's made an X in between the two parts? I've completed an X. If I went like this, it would make an O. We want to make X's because it makes it nice and secure. So I'm going to tighten that up, and then I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to make another X. I usually do 2 X's. It makes it nice and, like I said, secure. So it's really easy for me to work. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to come between, and now I can start wrapping again. If this is going to be a problem, I can always wrap this part like this. You always want to kind of do things that are going to make it easier for you. And since this isn't wanting to stay, I'm going to come here and I'm going to wrap this a little bit. And again, I like it when I have things that go wrong with my demos because it's really great that kids can see, or in this case, as a former teacher, I always say kids, but it's really great for people to see how to fix problems in real time. So I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to start wrapping again. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to hold it, and I'm just going to wrap, and you're going to go side by side by side by side, just like this. If you're somebody that little tiny thing's going to bother, go ahead and fix it. Just move it over a little bit. Now, when I look at this, my tail on my yarn is longer than this, so it tells me it's time for me to move my yarn on up so that I have space. I don't want to have double. You don't want to confuse yourself. So I'm going to keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. And then I've got about 1 inch, and now it's time for me to make another X. Remember, I had that issue with my, my thing coming undone, so I'm just going to go back through that, and I'm making the X. See, there's the first part of the X. Now I'm going back through here. I told you I go around the outside because I always do 2 X's, and I'm pulling it taut as I do that. Taut means just to kind of make it so that it's not loose, it's just there. It's a little tight, but it's not super tight. This big needle doesn't want to go through there so easily. But again, I wanted to make sure people could thread them easily. If it's bothering you, you can always switch to a smaller needle. You can find needles at Walmart, at Joann's, any kind of place like that. You're looking for a tapestry needle. So I'm going to wrap and wrap and wrap, and I'm going to go a little longer. And I just keep moving my fingers and doing this. And it's about 1 inch. I know it's about 1 inch because I always kind of go by my nail. I'm going to take this. I'm going to bring it between the 2 coils. I'm going to go back here. And there's my X part. Now I'm going to tighten that, and then I'm going to go back in between them. I'm going to come through it again, because remember, I want 2 or more X's every time I do this. I'm going to go here. And I'm going to come back through. And now I'm ready to wrap again. So I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to wrap. When you're doing this part, if you want it to be more of an oval, you could make your thing longer. I'm going for kind of a circular basket, so I made my centerpiece circular. So I'm just going to keep going. It's about 1 inch. Now I'm going to go in between the 2, and I'm going to make those X's. Remember, when you make your X's, you're not having to go back to the center space every time. You're just doing between the one that you're on and the one that's immediately before it. This one gets kind of confusing because we had to go back into the center by rewrapping it. So I'm making my X, going back through here, And sometimes I go over, sometimes I go under. And now I'm going to wrap again. Ooh, that's very far apart, so I'm going to squish it over a little bit. All right, and I'm just going to keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. You may want to start with a small piece like I did. It's less intimidating, and when I taught this with my students, I would always teach them to kind of start with a smaller piece so they get the hang of it, and they wouldn't feel bad if they quote-unquote messed up. Remember, the great thing about art is sometimes there's beauty in the oddity. Now, so I'm going to come through here because I've got to cross it over in the middle, and I'm going to go in here. Keep in mind as you're working that if you wanted this to be perfect or look like something you bought in the store, you just go to Target and buy it. And that's kind of the beauty of things that are handmade, is that if somebody spends their time making something and they give it to you, that really says that they care enough about you to kind of make something to give you. All right, now I'm at this very short tail. I'm going to take that off of here, and I'm just going to wrap it a few times. I'll go here. And we're going to do this tail just like we did the other when we started. And I've got another color of yarn. This is the variegated yarn. Remember I talked about that, where it changes color within the piece? So we're going to take a little piece of this variegated yarn, and I'm going to do exactly what I did before. Exactly what I'm doing here. I'm going to take it and I'll put these two pieces together. And I'm going to real quickly wrap it a little bit. Sometimes I wrap from the front, sometimes I wrap from the back. So don't let that confuse you. Do whatever which one you want, which is more fluid for you. So I'm going to wrap, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to cover up those tails. And they're super secure, and they will never come undone. It's so nice and so easy. Okay, so now I've got another inch, and I'm going to do this. Now the fun thing about this is, since I've changed the color of my yarn, before we couldn't really see our X's, now you're going to be able to see them. So remember, I'm going to take my new piece of yarn, I'm going to twist it a little bit, and I'm going to put it in my needle, and I'm going to pull it down some so I don't have to pull so far that my arms get tired. Okay, so I've come between, so now I'm going to go back in the one, not all the way to here, I'm just going to go this one and this one. Those are the only two we're dealing with. So I'm going to go right there, just like that. And when I show you now that we've got a different color, it really stands out when I make that X. Look at that. That X really shows up. So I'm going to pull this tight. And then I'm going to go back here. And then I want to make another X. So I'm going to make this X here. And there. Now I'm ready to wrap again. So I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to start wrapping. Now, I'm going to wrap, and give yourself a chance to kind of get used to this rhythm and kind of relaxing into it. Now, I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to purposely make a mistake this time. So instead of making an X, which you know I would have to go like this, I'm going to make a 0. So I'm just going to come up here, and it becomes really obvious. Oh look, it didn't cross over in between. And so when I look at it on this side, you can see that it kind of has that straight look as opposed to being wrapped. So I'm going to take it back out. Actually, this is a demo. I'm just going to go ahead and finish it here. I'm going to make the other part an X. I go in between. I'm going to go back in between here, making an X. And coming back up in this one. And like I said, mistakes here or there just add to the beauty of it being handmade. I always love it when somebody gives me something handmade because I know they spent their time creating it for me. And that says a lot when you give somebody something that's handmade. So you can see the difference. There's the X and then there's the O. It's not awful. It's okay. And then we're just going to start wrapping again. And we're going to wrap some more. And you just wrap it as it builds. Now, I'm going to stop here with this one, and I'm going to do a swap out. So I'm going to show you one that I was working on before. And for this one, I wanted it to be a little bit thicker. So I doubled my cord as I was working on it, and I just used it exactly the same way. So instead of wrapping around one cord, I wrapped around two. And it made it a thicker band. I've seen people make this with old t-shirts or something like that. Whatever you want to do, you can cut ribbons into strips and use that. If I wanted to have a bead right here, then I could put a bead on here and kind of slide it down there, and I'd have a bead right there. So as I'm working, I'm doing this, and I'm trying to get to the point where I'm going to show you this nifty. Okay, so I've got it about an inch. I'm going to take my needle off over here. And I'm going to put it on this one. Now see how my yarn has gotten frayed on the ends? If that bothers you, go ahead and cut it off. It's your yarn. I just twist it and pinch it and pull it back through. So now I'm back over on this one, and I'm going to make my X. So I'm going in between the two, just like this. Trying to make it so it's really easy for you to see. Just like that. And then if I go like this, look, there's my X. I'm going to make it tight. Pull it taut. Wrap it between. Go back. Making my second X now. And this is what the variegated yarn looks like when it's made up. So you can see how it has the different colors throughout the bowl. You can do all kinds of things. You can change up your colors whenever you want. I showed you how to do that. So I'm going to wrap some more. And I'm going to get down here to where I have to change out my cord. I'm going to go a little bit further, but before I do this, what I want to do is exactly what I did to start this. It's really easy to add more. So if you want to start with a small amount of cord and try it out, you just come in here and you do the same thing before. You cut it at an angle. If you're worried about it not being nice and tidy, you can put a piece of tape on there. I'm going to take this because I don't want to waste a whole lot of stuff. And I'm just going to use this from my demo over here, and I'm going to cut this piece off. We're going to pretend like this is a really long thing. In my classroom, we do a lot of pretending because I don't always have time to finish projects when I'm demoing. So I say, okay, we're going to pretend Miss Ross did this. So I'm going to go here, and I think I'm going to do a real quick X before I do another wrap. So I'm going to put that X in here. When I say an X, I'm going to do two X's. So there's one X. I'm going to pull it straight up. Go back in between. Making my second X. And now I'm ready to wrap. And I'm going to wrap these two together, just like this. And I'm going to tie it in, kind of bind it in real quick, and then I'm going to go back over here and cover that little messiness up. And I could cut out those parts if I want. And see, now that's nicely together. Now, one of the things that I want to show you is this basket goes relatively straight up. If you want to do that, when you make this bottom as big as you want it to be, so I just decided this was going to be the size of this one, you start, the next row is going to be placed on top of it. See how that's directly on top of the one below it? Straight up and down. If I want it to go out at an angle, then I put it out here so I can still kind of see this little part of this, and I do that. When you do it that way, you can see I made a big bottom here, and then I went kind of straight up, and then I decided I wanted to have these decorative edges. So what I did was I put them on here, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, and I wanted them to go out. So depending on how you lay your coil as you're going up, that will dictate how your basket looks. So if I decided, hey, you know what, I really like those loopy things, I'm going to make some loopy things. So I'm going to wrap this very quickly. And you are really only bound by your imagination how you want this to go. So if I decide I want this to twirl, I could twirl it. If I want it to go up and down, then I do it. And then the next time I'm ready to make my X's, I would make my X's here. So I have this raised area. If I wanted it to come out like this and make a loop, I could do that. I'd just wrap all this, and then I'd make my X's here. You can do this, you can create different kind of patterns out here, however you want. All that you need to worry about is how long do I need to wrap before I reattach it to the main body of the basket. So if I'm going to do this here, if I'm going to make this loop like this, this would be how I would go. If I wanted to come out to the side, I would do this. If I wanted to go up, I would attach it like this. And that's where I'd put my X's. So you can build these however you want. Like I said, I went straight out, and then I started putting them on top of each other. You can see where the first one kind of goes up. If you look at it, you can kind of really start to piece it together. But these went straight up, and then I had intended for these to go up, and I thought they kind of started doing this because I made them so large. I thought, well, I really kind of like that. Over here is where I started it, and so then I thought, oh, I want to finish the end so it's like a little love knot. And so I just basically did one of these, looped it through there. I was wrapping, and then I got to the end, I put them here, and I wrapped them together. Once you reach the end, the final part of your basket, remember you're going to cut it at an angle again so it will blend in, and then you wrap over it, and then you run your needle through this underneath it. Don't make the last one super tight because you want to be able to run that needle just right through here like this and pull it out. I usually do about 1 inch, and then I clip it, and then your basket is done. I hope you have a lot of fun with this. I hope you enjoy playing with the colors. You can put anything in here you want. If you have weird yarn, you can do the eyelashy yarns. You can do all kinds of things. Typically, people have yarn laying around. It's really easy to find. You can go to a thrift store if you don't want to go and buy it. You can ask anyone else. They may have different colors of yarn. Ultimately, you're going to get 3 colors of yarn in your box. So what you're going to do is you can trade out with a friend, work with another buddy that has their box, and then you have extra types of yarn. I do want to mention that when you're going shopping for yarn, this is a worsted weight or a sport weight, so it's got a nice thickness to it. So this is how thick this is. Here's another one that I'll show you kind of. That's a good thickness. Yarn also comes in thinner. You could get like a sock yarn or a crochet yarn. Do not pick this because you will be hating me. And as I always told my students, I don't want you cursing my name when you're trying to do it. It's just so tiny, it'll take forever. If you're like, oh, I really enjoy this, but I want results quicker, you can look for a bulky yarn. So look for something like this that would wrap up even quicker. And again, over here, I wanted to try it with 2 cord thicknesses to see if I liked it. And I did. So it doesn't have to be a single cord. It doesn't have to be laundry line. I just wanted it to be really, really easy for, if you like this, to get a taste for it and say, hey, I kind of like that. And then it would be very easy for you to source materials afterwards. So hopefully you're going to try this. It'll be very relaxing for you and you will enjoy it. Thank you very much.